Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Lathan, the Manager of Marketing and Communications at Fort Worth Opera. Welcome to internationally renowned soprano Jennifer Rowley's 7th Masterclass, The Singer-Conductor Relationship. Fort Worth Opera family is super honored to have Maestro Dean Williamson, a music director of Nashville Opera, with us this afternoon. Thank you, Maestro.
Yes,
Hey
thank you,
guys.
Maestro, all the way from Italy. Woo!
He was the co-founder and music director of Seattle Opera's Young Artist Program and the artistic director of Opera Cleveland before joining the staff at Nashville. He has conducted at some of the country's premier houses, including San Francisco Opera, Minnesota Opera, I sound like a radio announcer, and Opera.
Yes, you do, it's good.
There we go. And Opera Theater of St. Louis. We are thrilled to have him with us today. And on another note, congrats to our fabulous singers. And I pass the mic over to you, DJ Rowley.
Yeah, for real. Woo! Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Again, if you're here for another time, and all of our new people who have joined us, thank you so much for being here. We're having a great time. I can't believe this is the 7th one, Ryan. Wow, my brain. Anyway, we're so happy to have Dean here with us. Thank you, Dean. Dean is joining us from Italy, where he managed to get to from Seattle this past week through a lot of paperwork and craziness, but he got there. So that gives me hope for the future.
Thank you. I'm quarantining.
And he's quarantining.
Yeah.
Yes, he's quarantining. Thank you, Dean, so much for being here. We are so happy to have you. And to our 5 singers, Angélica Mata Esparza, Nini Marchese, I love your name, Kevin Jasaitis, Lwazi Hlati, and Alexandra Razskazoff. Love you guys. You are awesome. We're so happy to have you. So our class this week is going to be about the singer and conductor relationship. And that's a very special bond and relationship that you build throughout a rehearsal process. It's something that it can make a singer feel very comfortable on stage. It's something that makes a conductor feel very comfortable from the pit, and building a really strong bond and relationship with that conductor is important from moment one. So Dean, let's talk a little bit about that first meeting, because pretty normally, we're just meeting you at the very first musical rehearsal. So it's the first day of school. And of course, the very first thing we do is have music rehearsal with the whole cast and the conductor. And we go through everything with the piano. So I would love to know about that first impression from your side, the first couple of minutes of rehearsal. How do you feel? Because I know how we feel, and we are like this. So I would love to know just, about that first meeting. How do you feel? What do you take from that? What stands out, in those first couple of minutes of meeting a singer, and how do you respond to that situation?
Well, Jen, it's a really interesting thing, and what I want to do, I hope to accomplish tonight, is to give all of you singers an idea of what goes on in the conductor's brain, why we may act a certain way, why we may react a certain way to things musical or personal in the rehearsal. So I think what's really important is the connection, is finding a way to connect with your conductor. What I would always like to say is, do not underestimate what goes on in the first 30 seconds of that music rehearsal. If anything will help you all, know that the poor conductor is as scared out of his or her mind as you all are. We're nervous because we feel on the spot as well. I could probably be going in and doing another Bohème or, Noce di Figaro, I've done a million times, and it never gets easier because of the new cast that I'm given, the new group of singers. And so for me, as an opera conductor, it's very much like chamber music. I have to get to know you. I like there to be a lot of give and take, that we can make a partnership out of this, that we can make music together. But I have to get to know you first. I can't just drop in and say, I'm gonna catch you in every moment. I try to, but until I know your voice, until I know how you think, until I know how you react when you get nervous, these are the things that you learn through the 2 or 3 week staging process. But what I like to tell young singers is that there is a way to bond with your conductor, or at least start the process on a really good note in the first 30 seconds. Know that he's or her, she is as nervous as you are. The best thing to do is to, I would say, from the downbeat, let's say if you're in the early, let's say maybe 20 seconds before your first cue that you're going to sing, stare at your conductor. Even if your conductor's like this and looking down and doesn't know the score, and if it's a new first time, I may try to be really super careful too, so I might not be looking at you. I like to do a lot of eye contact, because if I watch the singer's face, I watch your jaw, your body, your clavicle, your shoulders, I can see it, your rib cage, so I know how you're breathing, and I can fit the music into what you need. So I'd like to try to watch. If you give that right away to the conductor in the first, I would say your first page of music that you're going to sing, even if I'm looking down like this, I will feel your eyes zooming in at me. And I'll tell you what makes a conductor feel so taken care of is when I look, all of a sudden I'll look up to throw you the cue, and you're staring at me. It's like, I've got you, Maestro, I've got you.
They're already looking at you.
They're already looking. In an orchestra reading, it's fantastic. You know, when you look, a lot of times, you know, brass players they're staring at you 3 bars before their first entrance, because they're not going to do that boom, you know, early or late. So, and with a great orchestra, I don't even have to give a finger. I just look and I give an eye cue, because they're looking and they're like, I got you. Good. I just boom. I look at them at that key moment, like I'm prompting them, and they know exactly when to come in. You can do the same with the singer once we build that trust, but it starts with you showing the conductor without saying a word. I've got your back. I'm going to take care of you, Maestro. I know my music. I don't need you for my first cue. You will feel the conductor relax. You will feel me start to, oh, I'll start breathing. I'll start trying to live in your phrase. I'll start trying to connect with you. And I won't be going, you know, eins, zwei, you know, uno, due, tres, just kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and just, yeah. I will try to make music with you. And it's unspoken dialogue that is so important. That first impression that you make, and it shows a professionalism. It shows that you've done your homework. It shows that you know the score. It shows that you have a point of view. It shows that you're flexible because you're willing to meet me halfway. And I tell you, once you do that, you will get everything you need in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Because
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, because I know you're there for me, and I want to meet you. I'm going to be there for you. And so if I feel that partnership, then, you know, we may get to a point 2.5 weeks in, and you're given a staging that's a little bit tricky, and you find yourself running short of breath, and you need to take a tempo that's a little bit either slower or faster than what we set in the first musical reading. If you come to me, honestly, you shouldn't have to say anything, and I should be able to catch it. But if you have to talk to me and say, you know, Maestro, there's also a nice way to do it. It's like, it's never anybody's fault, but it's like, Maestro, can we just try something? Because I think I might need a little more room here. Or I've got to like run around that table, grab the knife, Tosca, you know, and kind of get myself in position. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm a little bit discombobulated and my breath is running high. Can you just give me like a fraction of a second longer, or can you just wait? And I'll be like, sure, yeah, because it's a journey together to find that. Something I learned from one of my great mentors, Eduardo Mueller, was in that first musical rehearsal, he never would say, no matter how many times he's done the opera, he would never say, this is how it's going to be. He said, okay, let's see how it's going to go. Because it's like we're building a stew here. You know, I have my ideas, certainly, and I want you all to have your own ideas. I don't want you to be, you know, carbon copies of, you know, Maria Callas' 1947 recording. I want you to figure out I want you to come knowing all of the possible ways you can do something, but then have your own point of view, because then it works with mine, and then we can meet in the middle. And so there's all of that stuff is happening literally in the first 30 seconds. It's like, you know, I judge the Mets all the time. It's like, you really know, I probably heard about 10,000 singers now in my life. And I hate to say this to you all, but it's kind of true. I know from the moment I see your foot or your ankle come on stage and you start to walk to the keyboard, from your body language, if it's going to be a good audition or it's going to be a tricky audition. Yeah. And you can tell, and it's the aura you give off. And so if you come into that first music rehearsal with that confidence, with that smile on your face and just that eye contact, you can, if you see the conductor's a nervous wreck, you can calm them down. That's a really good way too. And also remember that I'm listening to your breath and I need to hear that. And so I know a lot of teachers and a lot of people are trying to say, you know, I don't want to have an audible, you know, kind of breath, but I need to feel the breath and I need to know the time of the breath, because then I know your tempo. We step on the moving sidewalk together with your intake breath into a phrase is my upbeat with my arm into the downbeat. And we conductors are drilled into us by really good orchestras. Maestro, your upbeat's not the same as the tempo once you start. You know, so we learn early on that all the information I have to give to the orchestra is in that upbeat. All the information you're going to give to me as your conductor is in your breath. So if you give me then I know there's an energy. She's going to really go for it. But if there's this beautiful gentleness and there's kind of and I know exactly when that point of phonation is, when the chords are going to come together, because there's a feel to it that, you know, that's what we opera conductors are trained to do. Through all of the years we spend playing voice lessons and accompanying you in the Met auditions. And, you know, if we do the classic old route and work our way up, conducting is the last thing we do when we've mastered all of the other stuff. So I'm using every tool in my toolbox to get to know you as fast as I can in that 3 hours. Also remember that everything that we're not really setting a tempo, at least with me. I like to feel that there's some flexibility. Another thing is, don't worry about, and I do a ton of Rossini. For me personally, I like you all to come in with some ornaments that you know and have some ideas. I'm happy to write some, or at least go to the keyboard on a side coaching and say, try this, because you know, I feel the ornament should really reflect your voice, what works best for you. You know, when you get nervous, I can't go up and spin around that corner and come back down around the passaggio when I'm nervous. So I need to do it a different way than what so-and-so did on that Rosina. And that's perfectly great. Also, I think a cadenza ornament should fit the staging too. And you'll be thrown different things by different directors. So it's a fun journey. You know, that's where we can learn from our jazz and pop singer friends who can make up things on the, they feel the phrase. And working a lot in Nashville now, that's what I've learned from all of our great studio players, is that sometimes you have to feel it, don't think it. We classical singers get up here too much, and we lose the phrase, we lose the music, we lose that feeling. And another thing I want you all to kind of understand is that an orchestra has a hard time hearing you when they're in the pit. And I know, just like you guys have a hard time hearing the orchestra depending on where you're on stage. And for example, at the Met, it's so big, sometimes when you're at the back wall, you have to sing a full beat ahead of the orchestra, which is what the prompter does, so that your sound lines up. So you have to shoot your sound ahead of what your ear is telling you, so that by the time it meets the orchestra sound coming out of the pit, it's like this. It's going to feel like you're ahead, but you will, in the audience perspective, you will be with them. So that's the reason for the conductor. I can help you, because you're going to not hear so much and lose your bearings on stage. So I can help you. I can, you know, I'm famous for the palm.
The famous palm.
No, you're going to, no, not yet. I don't know, I've got this radar, like, oh my God, she wants to come in early. No. And I try to keep it discreet. You know, I hold it in front of my body so the audience is not like, oh yeah, she's about to come in, my hand goes up. Another trick that'll really work with a conductor,
I think that's
let's talk about Sitzprobes for a second, Jennifer.
Yeah, I wanted to get into those important orchestra rehearsals, those rehearsals that are really focused rehearsals for the orchestra. They're not about that staging, they're not about the whole production, they're not about the lights, all that stuff. But I wanted to just reiterate for all the singers that are here on the class today, what Dean said about that first 30 seconds and that eye contact I have found in every opera house, with every conductor, in the last, I would say, 5 years of my career, since I've really felt very, very confident with my vocal technique, when I start my first phrase, just like Dean said, with my eyes locked on that conductor, even if he's like this, just like Dean said, there is a relationship developed from the first phrase. And if you don't need to look at that book, it says to him in 30 seconds that you are so well prepared and he can trust you. And then once you've developed that trust, really, it takes a very short amount of time. Even if the conductor doesn't look back at you, you stare right at him and you give him the energy that you are watching. In that first 30 seconds, that bond and that trust is already created. And then what happens through the rehearsal process, because the conductor is almost always present through the whole rehearsal process, conducting all the rehearsals, then you can have a collaboration. Then you can work together to come up with a way to sing this that fits the production, that fits the voice, that helps the orchestra, that helps the conductor, so that everyone is really getting their needs met. But Dean is absolutely right. In the first 30 seconds, if your face is buried in your score, the conductor already thinks you are not prepared. And I just want to reiterate that, like right at the very beginning. If the conductor feels you are very well prepared, he is more likely to work in a very professional and collaborative way with you. If he feels you are not prepared, there's a wall that goes up because he doesn't want to teach you music. He doesn't want to teach you your notes. He doesn't want to teach you your rhythms. He wants to make music with you and with the orchestra and with the rest of the cast. So there's a wall that goes up when he feels you're not prepared, and they can tell. Immediately they can tell. So I just wanted to reiterate that before we move on to those important rehearsals. But moving into the Sitzprobe and the Wandelprobe, and the orchestra dresses, really, the things that become primarily about the orchestra. Dean, how do you like singers to act in those situations? What makes you feel like you and the orchestra are number one that day, and us as singers are supporting you that day to do your job?
It comes back to eye contact again, like reconnect at the Sitzprobe. This is I like to give credit where credit's due. This is something that Larry Brownlee taught me, that Imre Pallo, the great Hungarian conductor, taught him at IU when Larry was in our young artist program and we were doing Don Giovanni. And he said that Pallo would always demand no music stands or chairs on stage. You go out there on stage and you stand and you stare and you program, because that's the only time, especially in our very tight rehearsal schedules now, the only time you have to program your ear and your eyes as to what you're going to hear and see and experience on stage. And every stage is different and every orchestra is different. Some orchestras will play behind the beat, some are right on the beat. So the best thing you can do is to just stand there, at least for the first 5 minutes, and your brain is like a little computer, and you'll start to try things. And you'll also see the conductor start to try to catch you a little bit because of that, again, that sound delay. So if by staring, you're now saying, okay, when I see Dean's hand go down, I hear this bum, bum, bum. It's usually a fraction of a second behind by the time the sound comes around to you on stage, even with an onstage monitor. You can then, by looking at me, you're programming your brain and your ear to say, that's what I'm going to hear in that situation. Mm-hmm. Personally, with singers that I know that are very experienced and I've loved working with, I ask them, okay, let's wandle it a little bit. So I want you guys to go to positions on stage where you will be singing, especially if it's a large set. That way we can start to solve some of the issues of, okay, when you're 30 feet up in that corner, I can't hear anything at all. And that's the time we can sort this out. And you also start to get used to what you're going to hear. Because once you set that in your brain, the next step, doing it to that first orchestra dress rehearsal, all you're adding now is the acting. You're adding things in layers. You're not getting overwhelmed by throwing everything at you all at once. So in the Sitzprobe, it's basically for the orchestra to get them to get used to you and hearing. With a good opera orchestra and with my band in Nashville, there are many times I'll tell them, listen to the stage and really follow what the singer's doing. And if you feel a bend with them. And so that's also a chance for you to start to help me show the orchestra what the roadmap is. In a lot of the orchestra readings, I'm trying to sing all the cues, but I don't have a big voice. So a lot of times it just, they're like, they see my mouth moving, but it helps me to kind of put in my body what we've done in rehearsal. Then when we add you guys in the Sitzprobe, now it's a little discombobulating for them. In most orchestras, the first 5 minutes is always kind of a little bit of a, wow. Oh, wow, oh, there's a voice coming down at me from off stage. So what you should do in that situation, do what you and the conductor have always done. I find so many times singers will get to the Sitzprobe and all of a sudden things are changing ever so slightly. Remember that a conductor can feel the difference between 120 and 122 to a quarter.
Yep.
Because I'm moving muscles in my body. I'm moving, bones and muscles and nervous systems to feel the rhythm. And remember also, with the only language that you, the singer, and the conductor have in common is rhythm. I don't make pitch. I don't make intonation. You do. But I can feel rhythm just like you're feeling rhythm. So that's the only common musical language we're talking. So that's so important when you get to the Sitzprobe. You can help me by, most orchestras will lag a little, because by the time they hear your sound coming down from the pit, they're going to play to what they hear, and they don't realize that that sound has now half a second left your mouth and they're hearing it in the pit. So you always have to sing slightly ahead of what you're singing, what you're hearing from the pit, and it helps the orchestra because then they know where to put the beat. Otherwise, it's like two dogs chasing each other's tail, and it will start to slow down. A lot of times you're up there and you're like, Maestro, why is this is so much slower than what we did in rehearsal, with piano? Why is this slowing down? And a lot of times, always look at yourself first. Maybe I'm doing something like I'm listening to the orchestra. That'll be the first thing that'll happen. You'll slow down. That's a big one. And a nice conductor will know how to fix it. An insecure conductor will start screaming at you sometimes, because sometimes I know I have 3 hours to get through this piece. I have to communicate to you quickly, so I may have to yell something up there. I hate doing that because it makes everybody on edge. But sometimes, you'll just have to call out something. Just if that happens, don't get upset. The conductor's not mad at you. It's the only way you'll hear us over all of that sound sometimes. Yep. Here's a trick. This really works because I'm a big yogi, and I learned this from all of my yoga studies. Watch the conductor's body. There is this thing I call the golden triangle. When a conductor when you're in the notch with the conductor, you're singing right where the conductor wants you to be with the orchestra. Look at this triangle from his chin to the shoulders, this whole area here. When a conductor is upset or trying to push a rock up the hill or trying to pull the orchestra into, you'll see this. You'll see this just like you guys do it too. It's like, oh my God, I can't sing this phrase. I'm running short of air. A conductor, we get tight and we'll kind of bend over the orchestra, we'll kind of bend like this. And it's very subtle, but you'll see it. When it's working, all of a sudden this whole thing opens. It's in yoga, we call this, your chest, your heart chakra, your chest is open. Because I'm relaxed now. My arms will fall down to my side. My elbows, I'm not, like an albatross trying to take off on the podium. You'll see me conduct with smaller gestures, which is better, and the orchestra won't play so loud. You will see me relax, and you will feel me start to breathe with you more. But when I'm like this, and I'm trying to keep everybody together, I'm on a separate train than you are. So this is one way that you can communicate with me. You can bypass me. You can control the orchestra with your intake breath, with your phrasing, and most importantly, try to always do what you've always been doing with the conductor in the staging rehearsals.
Yes.
Don't change because your ear is hearing something different.
Yes. Yes. For
everything. Don't change your staging either.
Yeah.
I hate when people get on stage and they get crazy. They forget their minds. They lose it. And then we start, the singer's not following the conductor. They start changing the tempo, and then they stop doing the staging that you worked on in the room. You go to rehearsal, and thank God, so many times the conductor is there with you through the whole rehearsal process. Do what you did in rehearsal. You are building muscle memory. And us as singers, we understand that muscle memory for our throat and our breath. But we have to also send the conductor is also building muscle memory because he's using his whole body. And if you start going off the rails and doing something you did not do in rehearsal, his body reacts to what you're doing. And I've totally seen conductors like pull a muscle because they didn't know something was happening, and like they jerked and was like, what's happening? And they get like a little whiplash kind of thing happening. Don't do it. Take care of your conductor. Don't do on stage. What you do on stage is what you did in the room, just on a bigger scale, right? Maybe the stage is a little bit bigger space than it was in the room or whatever, but you do what you did in that room with that conductor so that he feels like when he goes into the orchestra rehearsals, he doesn't have to wrangle a bunch of kids. He just has to conduct that orchestra. Yeah? Don't give him something else to do. On that note, what about the singer and how you like the singer to watch you? Because I know some conductors that I've worked with, and if I'm not watching them like a hawk, like right here, they feel I'm not with them. But I'm one of those singers that I've got you constantly out of the corner of my eye. I've got you, right? Even if I'm not looking at you, because we all know that I like to act and tell a story, and I'm all over the place, and following my own blocking though, not changing it up. But I've always got that conductor right there, always, 100,000%. And I've definitely had conductors be like, it would be better if you looked at me. And I will say, I've got you. I can see you right here all the time. Do you prefer the singer that looks directly at you, or do you prefer the singer that you know, because they're with you, you know they've got you on the monitor here, and out of the corner of their eye all the time? Until, I mean, obviously there are big moments where we need to connect. Dean and I did Tosca together, and obviously at the beginning of Visi d'Arte, we need to connect, right? Because we all have to come in together. So how do you like your singers to react, Dean? Do you like them to be always right on you, or do you like to feel like they can do what they need to do and you trust that they have you in the corner and in the monitors?
The latter, the
latter.
Second one, because I think because of all my years as a repetitor coach accompanist playing for all these conductors before I started conducting, my peripheral vision got very good, and I really was very proud of the fact that I could play the Ring or Salome or something with the conductor over here, and I'm looking here, and I see everything in the corner of my eye. And it's really possible. It's a skill. You have to learn how to do it, and you have to practice it. I don't think in the middle of a very crowded, crazy scene on stage that everybody should stop and just turn and stare. I think it gets in the way of the director. It gets in the way of the flow. And certainly, you can learn to see in the corner of your eye very, very well. And that's why we have our arms moving, and we have the conductor downlight on us. But yes, definitely develop that peripheral sense so you know what's going on around you. And it's a skill. It's like riding a bike. You just have to do it and practice it. And part of it is in the piano stagings and in the piano dress and in the piano text. You can, especially when the piano text and dress are your two chances to experiment with that on stage and watch and see. Because those nights too, the conductor is going to be less active. So you can see, okay, if he's in first gear with piano, I can still see his arm. I can still see her arm. I can see her baton. Therefore, we're going to be good, because when he's full on going, it's going to be perfect. So even when I turns 45 degrees and I have to act with my tenor, I can see the baton. That's great. Or you make a slight adjustment until you can get comfortable with that. Yeah.
Great. I love that. I agree. I think that, there definitely are. There are plenty of moments where you and we have to connect. I feel right at the beginning of the opera, at the very first entrance, we need to just check in and be like, okay, we're here together tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
also we need to connect at those important moments where we really do need to line together, right? We need to come in together. But the rest of the time, and everyone, on the class today, it really is a skill to develop where you've got one track going vocal technique, right? One track going translation, one track going staging, one track going what the heck is my tenor doing, and one track going conductor. Because the conductor is so important. He literally can make or break your night. Because if you're not with the orchestra, what's the reviewer going to say? They're going to say she's behind the orchestra the whole time, right? That's not his fault. That's your fault. That's your fault. You didn't watch, right? So you have to multitask in that head and have all of those things going on at one time. And a part of that up here, right in the front, is being able to watch that conductor out of your peripheral vision, check in with your monitor to the left, check in with your monitor to the right, or even in some opera houses who have the monitors way out on the balconies, which is super helpful. But in those moments, we need to be able to check in, and you have to remember him or her. You have to remember that he or she is there to help you. He is there to drive the bus and get us all to the end very safely and securely with hopefully not too many crashes, right? But he drives the bus. So you need to be with him. And that means that he becomes a part of your thinking as well. So while I know we're all thinking about, that next phrase coming up's hard, I got to connect to my breath, da-da-da-da-da. I have to climb the stairs here. Let's make sure one foot's in front of the other. My blocking, I got to move coming up. I need to get a prop. Where the hell did my tenor go? Oh my God, what happened? Right? Conductor, conductor, okay? So you have to learn how to compartmentalize all of those things and have these little tracks running in your head. But the conductor track literally is right here in the front, always, okay? This is so, so important. Dean, I just want to ask one more question before we get into our singers. I want to ask you about research on your singers before we actually get into rehearsal, because we've had a social media lecture. We've talked about, all of our stuff that's out online and things like that. And I would love to get your opinion and sort of your insight on when you learn who your cast is for any particular show. Let's say when we did Tosca together at Nashville Opera. Do you go and do research and see where I've sung before, with whom I've sung before? If some of those conductors are your friends, do you call them? Do you ask them, how does she work? Do you ask them, does she watch? Do you do this research about the cast that you're going to have ahead of time, so you sort of have a little insider information going into that first 30-second meeting?
I admit I do a little bit of that. I don't, honestly, I don't go online and do deep social platform research. I don't try to listen too much. I really like to go to that first music rehearsal with a more of a collaborative kind of open mind. Fabulous. But there is always that point. Let's talk a second about the political side of this business, that crazy business that we're all in. It's a giant network of people, of colleagues, and we've all kind of start to work with each other, and people talk, and people kind of know how you are, and they know what your reputation is like. So it's very easy for me to call up several, conductor friends or director friends or even singer friends and say, oh, I see you just, I'm working with so-and-so next year. What do you think? And I try not to dig too much. I'll just say, how was it? Did you have fun? And usually, good stuff will come up. And what we're very honest with each other. And if a conductor colleague calls me and says, "Oh, I see you're work, you know, I'm working with so-and-so next year. What did you think? You just worked with him or her." I'm obligated if there were big issues. I do it very gently. I do it very honestly. I never try to badmouth openly, really badmouth somebody, because I know some performances, some productions you go to and you're just in a bad part of your life, or things are just, it's not working that way for whatever reason. So you have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, we all have a job we have to get done by opening night. And it's very stressful. So if you are the type of person that can work well in that situation, and that reputation will get around, people will want to work with you. They know you're going to be steady, you're going to be calm, you're going to be inventive, you're going to be fun, you're going to be less stress, frankly. And so that's, for me, is I kind of put my ear to the ground in conversations with my colleagues sometimes, and I see what names come up about certain attitudes and personality types in the business. And when I was doing Cleveland and I had to do active casting, that was a much bigger part. And I'm sure a lot of my artistic and general director friends do a ton of research on that, because especially nowadays when you have 2 or 3 weeks of staging and then we have to get it up in tech, we can open it. If I'm running a company, I just cannot have somebody come, no matter how brilliant they are, if they're going to be difficult. Yeah. Because there's just no time. And I remember a very famous conductor telling me this when I first started out, soprano A, soprano B. Soprano A is brilliant but difficult. Soprano B is good but really easygoing. We're always going to hire soprano B, because when it comes down to it, that makes the experience beautiful for everybody. It's very collegial, and the product in a way will be better because everybody on stage is comfortable, and everybody, there's a team on stage, there's a family on stage, and we're looking out for each other on stage. And when you get that, that is the biggest gift you can get as somebody in this business. When you go to that opening night and you are so calm and confident because you know everybody, we're all on the same page. We're all looking out for each other. And we're at the point by opening night, like, with Jen and I, with the Tosca, it was like, it's like, oh, gee, if she wants to try something, I'm going to try it too, And I also know that if I felt in the moment trying something, you were there. You were always there. It was brilliant. And even the opening of the Vici d'Arte, which is scary for every conductor and every singer, because for you're having to say, okay, here we go. I'm gonna open my breath. I'm gonna open my mouth, take a breath, and here we go. And I don't want to give a big, here's the downbeat. I just have to be able to, Maestro, you have to catch me from 40 feet and you have to feel this. And I'm looking up, and it's like, but because you don't have to talk, you feel it. And we've again, it comes back to that relationship. And that is the most important thing. But I have certain colleagues that will do a lot of digging around. So I would just say, be very careful on your social media, what you put out there. If you're going to put a video of yourself up from a performance, be very careful. Make it sure it's your best. Don't just put something up because it's kind of good and you like the high note. We don't care about that. The stage director is going to look at that and doesn't care about the high note. He or she's going to look at the whole presentation. Exactly. And the whole 3-minute has got to be really good. If the lighting is not good, if the miking wasn't good, if it was kind of an archival video that was done on a little camera in the back of the house, don't put it up. Because again, you're trying to build your career and it's not worth it. That will be out there. People will see you at your less than optimum. There are other ways you can do it to get a better product, once it's out there, it's out there. Great advice. So be very careful with your social media and what you put up. Awesome. Because nowadays, this is going to happen. It's happening already. Fewer people are going to actually go to New York and do auditions. So what you have up will be your audition.
Yes, we've been talking about this a lot.
I'm hearing that from a lot of my general director friends. They're all cutting out auditions now or cutting back. So what you put up is your social media is your audition.
Yeah, for sure. And then a lot of singers are getting invited from those videos. I just wanted to add before we move on and hear Miss Angélica, the Tosca that Dean is talking about in Nashville. was really one of the high points of my career and things that I did in America. And the greatest thing about it was that because everyone was so collegial and everyone communicated so well with each other, and we didn't have that impossible person. We didn't have that, you know, that person that was constantly, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want to do that. No, no. We didn't have that. We were able to build relationships that we take into the future. And you know, Dean and I met, how long ago did we do that? 3 years ago, Dean? Was that 3 seasons ago, the Tosca in Nashville? And we really developed such a great relationship that, you know, Dean and I were supposed to do AIDA together in September in Ohio, and it's not happening. But when they told me it was Dean, I literally wrote him a huge Facebook message that was like, "Ah, we're working together again. I'm so excited." Because when you do make that connection, and you do know that someone is super trustworthy, you go into a job just with the joy of getting, you know, to do the work and do the role, and the experience of the whole production becomes a very different experience than the one where everyone's fighting with each other. Okay, so I urge you all to make that great connection with the next conductor that you're able to get in front of. You know, once we're done with this whole quarantine and COVID business, when we get out to working again, try it. Yeah, try the things that Dean is talking about to get the conductor and build that relationship right away from day one, and see if it doesn't make your whole experience of the whole run of the production of rehearsals better for you. I guarantee you it will. So with that said, we would like to hear some singing today. I'm excited. Okay, let's start with Angélica Mata Esparza. Are you there, honey?
Yes, I'm here.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And what you're going to sing, and we can get started.
Okay, here I have something that says turn on original sound, but I guess I did it already.
Yes, please turn on original sound. Perfect. Thank you, honey. We definitely want that. Because if not, the high notes will go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So allow me to introduce my pianist and my friend, Jorge Martinez Zazueta. He is a tenor and a pianist, and he's just 19 years old. There he is. Oh, Papito saying hi. Hi. Here we go.
Wow, bravissima. Bravissima. I know you can't hear everybody clapping, but please look at the gallery of fabulous.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow, what a perfect doorbell you would be.
Oh, thank you.
Really, you are really the ideal voice in my head, because you have that wonderful biting fabulous in the voice, but also the voice moves into the top so well, and it's so rich and beautiful. So bravissima, bravissima. Dean, I'm going to
Thank you so much.
right over to you first, and we can talk a little bit from the musical side. And
Okay.
yeah, Angélica, thank you. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
And
I want to talk
your
a little bit.
pianist. Bravo back
Yes.
there. Thank you, sweetheart. Bravissimo.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
Let's talk about the accompanied recital for a while. I just want to kind of give you an idea of what, how to work with the orchestra and the conductor through this. Remember that in Mozart accompanied recitals, everything the orchestra is doing is a punctuation mark. So it's like a comma, an exclamation point, a question, it's parentheses, whatever. And so you need to make sure that you're conducting those gestures in. They're musical gestures. Rather than saying, you know, ascoltati, padam, it's ascoltati, padam, padam. And if you do it right as a conductor, I shouldn't even have to really, I just have to indicate where to put the chord. I'm not doing ascoltati, babam. But I almost do the padam right on top of the skull, but so that it's the feeling of, it's the emotion of what you're saying. Even that, and it's one phrase. So that quarter note rest, take it with a grain of salt. And also there's a little thing here. I want you to think about in the recit, you have such a beautiful, rich, warm voice. You need a little bit more time sometimes to make sure that you reach your full resonance on a syllable, on a vowel before you get on. So don't rush, don't feel you have to rush so much through this accompanied recit. Especially before your doubles, like you get right to the L, and never shorten the vowel before a double consonant in Italian. You sing the full vowel. I remember Maestro Mueller used to always tell me, it's like you have to pull that syllable open, make a longer vowel, and then so do your double, so that whole beat feels elongated slightly. It's stage Italian, just like if you were going to be on stage in English, we start to talk a little bit like this so that it carries into the house. And also there are certain little fun pun things that Da Ponte is doing. Affetto, effetto. So if you really take the time to get these two differences in the vowel, you know, paventa il tristo affetto d'un disperato, effetto d'un disperato affetto. So we really feel the difference there. And then you need to chart, what is that? That first little, you know, D minor thing, D major comes up, and it comes from you. It's like you're taking a slingshot back. And if you do that right, then I'll know exactly as a conductor, boom, or the concert master can conduct it him or herself too. These are just, again, they're gestures. It's all emotional gestures. Another thing to remember in these accompanied recits, there are it's basically a tripartite structure. So you have A, B, C dramatically. And you need to know as an actress, what are those sections and where the transition happens. So for example, it's always A, section A, in all of you. Look, the countess, the count, they're all the same. It's basically light bulb, reaction, oh my gosh. Well, what just happened? Wow. You know, there's kind of this like, gee, you know, and here it's like, she's just like, and then, and then we have to change the B section. It always moves inward and becomes more, and this chord just sits, and Mozart does this like, like this first inversion of this like flat six kind of thing. So you can take the time. Remember, Italians emote on the vowel, and there's the elongated vowel, there's the stressed syllable of that vowel. That's the emotion, so you have to emote on that. You have to feel as an actress the meaning of the word through that vowel. That also will make you sound better in a larger theater, because you have a richer, darker, bigger voice. You need more time to resonate, to find your format in you know, the vocal science thing, to get into your optimum space. Otherwise, it'll sound like this. It'll sound a little bit tight.
With a bigger voice, always, the voice needs a little more time to arrive to the audience's ears in the theater. So with these, with the accompanied Mozart recitatives, which I love them so much. Like the recitative before Orsay, it's my favorite recitative in all of Mozart. You have to know where to build the drama and where to calm the drama down, right? Where to build it and calm it. And he gives it to you. It's all there, just let you know, like he's saying to you. But then when you calm the drama down, calm the tempo too, so that we can hear that beautiful voice arrive all the way in the theater. And like Dean is saying, we do want the upper format to arrive. And sometimes if we go a little too fast, or if we come in a little bit too early or something like that, the upper format takes a little longer to arrive at the audience's ears. So you will need, with your voice, especially with that rich color and it's a bigger voice, we need a little more time. Dean, shall we have Angélica start at the beginning of the accompanied recitative and just see if you can take, Angélica, just a tick slower, just so we can really hear right? Allow that ska to arrive in the theater. Don't sing for Zoom. Don't sing for your little room. I know it's hard. I know it is. But think about that voice arriving in the theater and then allowing that and allow that to then send you into the next phrase. Yeah? Let's try. Since you have your live pianist, this is going to make it so much better. Thank you. Yep, Dean, go ahead.
Much better, much better. Scostati. Instead of scos, and even the can you feel that her anger, her frustration is building instead of scos. So it really comes out on that, you know, it's this, it's like, please, come on. And also know where the verbs are too. Paventa, il tristo effetto, d'un disperato affetto. Chiudi quelle. You tend to some of the dentals stop your vowels. So again, keep the vowel moving through all of this. And then you need to make, what's that little bump and effetto, triste, can't even read, triste effetto, those two little A7 chords. What is that? So you as the actress have to figure out, how do I motivate the orchestra to play that in a certain way? You know? And all I'm going to do as a conductor is just meet you tristo. I'm not even going to worry about lining up, because I have to listen to how much of a double F you do, and where you put the vowel will determine where I give that downbeat for the orchestra. And it magically kind of happens, and the more I think about it, the less I'm going to be right. So I have to feel it. So you have to make me feel it too. This is all about the Italian. This is all about the text. This is all about the meaning again. Can you just try at the beginning? See if you can make me feel, and it's a beautiful, it's right in your passaggio for the mezzo, right on that E. So you, and composers are very smart about that. It's a very sensitive note in the voice. So they will, and this is a very kind of emotional period of her, what she's feeling. So he puts it right on that, right there. So use that.
And he gave you an open vowel. So
Yeah.
open vowel. Because he's so smart like that. And finestre, open vowel. You can, in those accented syllables, allow those to vibrate. We want that. We want that gorgeous color, honey. Let it out. We want it.
And don't hold your final syllables quite so long. You tend to, you stay on just a microsecond too long.
Okay.
Lean into the stress syllable and then let it just naturally pull away.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Much better, much better, much better. Your doubles are still getting, are cutting your vowels.
Okay.
Remember the Italians emote on the, it's the vowel. It's not the fact, and these are unvoiced doubles. So they're not going to be loud. They're just, it's stopping the sound, but it's just, they will enunciate themselves. So I want you to think about affetto, affetto, instead of affetto. You know, this again, it's Italian for the stage so that you sound good. And also, why don't you cut that rest short? Triste fe, bam, bam, dundis, and just come right in, dundispera. It's not like, these are never meant to be come scritto. And we have the letter from Mozart to his dad during Noce de Figaro rehearsal saying, dear dad, why are they trying to sing the rhythms I wrote on the page in these recits? He said, I want them to sing the Italian, basically. So remember, this is like jazz. This is like a lead sheet. This is shorthand notation. It's not 1, 2, 3. It doesn't, you don't have to sing exactly there. The only time in an accompanied recit you need to be clear for the conductor and the orchestra is the beat just before the orchestra comes in. Everything else in between is all yours as an actress. Okay? Can we try, go from the chiudi quelle finestre.
Perfect. Chiudi quelle finestre.
Chiudi quelle finestre.
Don't chew the D. Chiudi quelle. Get chiudi. Let yourself just roll over that D instead of pronounce the D.
Chiudi quelle finestre.
Going on. Luce. Odio la luce, not luce. Luce. When you say the U vowel, that's everything there. And I want you to think 3 things here. Notice that she starts out, middle, in. What do you hate? Odio la luce. Odio l'aria che spiro. And then myself. Out, in, furthest in. So think of, and you can color it in 3 different ways. Again, see how the text, the Italian, the meaning of the words colors everything. And this is what a great singer will do. When you get to the point like you are, where your technique is working for you and the voice is gorgeous, now let the actress in you, let the meaning of the word help you color the voice and find that in a very organic way. And then the whole world will open up for you in terms of this. Yeah, it becomes an acting exercise, you know. And I always say, like in the Met auditions, if you can sing these accompanied rests, it's fine. You get to the aria, plant your feet, just sing the aria beautifully to the end. You're home free. Everything happens in this accompanied recitative. You show me everything. And remember too, nowadays, most opera companies are run by stage directors or former stage directors. So what you do in this accompanied recit is showing them everything about what you can do as an actress and how the text colors your thought process and your voice. So go from odio la luce, odio la luce. You have to really exaggerate the vowel like that. What I will hear, I'm sorry to be so picky because it's a beautiful voice and I want you to sound great in a big theater. I hear odio luce, odio la luce, la luce. You can spring off of the la. Use the resonance of the ah vowel too. Stay on the breath.
Odio la luce, odio l'aria che spiro.
Spiro. Not spiro, not spiro, spiro. Because that E vowel makes the orchestra go ba-dam, ba-dam. It's the speed.
l'aria che spiro. Odio l'aria che spiro.
Spiro, longer, spiro.
Odio l'aria che spiro.
Going on.
Odio me stessa.
Make this one, it's like, oh, and I even hate myself. You know, it's like, because that helps you do the transition into this inward. We're now, you know, in G minor, which is a very, in the German affect system, they assign an emotion to every key. G minor has this very pathos. It's a very heartfelt, Finnish kind of thing. So, and you have to set that up. And if you do it right, the orchestra knows exactly what you want, and they will color it, and they will be with you as an actress too. Just do that last. Odio me stessa.
Me stessa.
Me stessa.
Odio me stessa.
Long vowel again. Lengthen the stress syllable.
Odio me stessa.
Yes, vibrate it. I want you to feel 2 or 3 wiggles on that E vowel before you get to the double S.
Odio me stessa.
No, vibrate it. Vibrate it.
Odio me stessa.
You're doing a little straight time.
Vibrate that.
Vibrate the E vowel.
In this.
Odio me stessa. Che schernisce il mio cuore e mi consola. Defugi per pietà.
Here, this is just an exclamation. This is a gesture again. It's not it's not quarter note to the, it's defugi. The de can be just move, it's an exclamation. It's not a quarter note. Now, it doesn't have to be fast, but it still has to be resonated. But as an actress in you, feel that it's an exclamation. It's an emotion rather than a quarter note. And then the fu has to be longer than the de. Make it a half note. Yeah, it's free. Good, perfect. You did it like that. I know as a conductor exactly what tempo to do in the maestoso now. You set me up now. And this is a case where as a conductor, I'm like, oh, thank God. We're on the same plane, and she's giving me the perfect entrance for the orchestra now. Badam. There's a sense of the maestoso feeling. Instead of badam, it's not this. It's a, you know, food. She's made up her mind here. She's made up her mind. She's not panicking so much. This is the C section that I talked about. So we have A, reaction, B, moving inside, thinking, C, resolution. This is what I'm going to do. Now I have to sing an aria. And that's why he writes maestoso there instead of vivace. You know, so there's plenty of vivace in the aria coming up. One more time, de fuggi, just to the end of this, the rest.
De fuggi per pietà, fuggi, fuggi, fuggi per pietà, lasciami sola.
Much better, much better. Even that last, lasciami sola should be completely out of tempo. There's no tempo in that bar. Feel what works for your voice. Lasciami sola, bam, bam. The sola is, you know, lasciami sola. That's where the stress is not lasciami sola, it's lasciami sola.
Yes.
Sola. And as a conductor, that's what I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the sol. And that tells me the orchestra where to place those 2 cadence chords. And so if you place the saw with that strength emotionally, the orchestra knows, and they'll know how to play the chords then. You can control whether they do bam bam or bam bam, you know, with a little bit of air, with a little bit of, you know, it's intensity.
Yeah.
And then one thing I want to talk about, the one thing that's always hard on this for the mezzo and for the conductor, because the strings are muted here, you will not hear a thing on stage. Once the violas and the seconds start going brr, brr, brr in the verse, you literally will not hear anything. If you're lucky, you will hear a slight E flat. You'll get a tonal center. But most of the time you won't. You'll feel like you're flying blind up there. So you need to lead it. And another thing I want you to think about is sing the sentence. Don't feel you have to sing it's a 4-bar phrase. It's a 4-bar phrase in the sentence. Sure, we have these little lifts, but don't worry so much. I'm doing a quarter note rest and an eighth note rest. It's a lift. It's a lift of the breath. It's a lift of the heart. It's like, oh my God, I'm so worked up. I can't breathe. Yeah. I can't speak. I can't. That's all it is. It's not zma game. Like it's not a MIDI score replay. It's an emotion. And their notation is not exact. This is the closest Mozart could get. The problem now with modern composers is that they will give you like, you know, a 3/12 bar going into a 7/8 bar with a dotted 16th rest. They try to notate exactly how they want you to do it. Mozart gave you, this is a lead sheet. This is like playing from a cocktail book where you just have the musical line and the chords, and the jazz pianist knows how to fill it in and knows the style. It's the same for you. So think now, this is where the Italian can help you. I want you to think what you're saying. Sing the sentence and then take your big breath and then sing or the clause. So just try the opening phrase. And you have to always, and the big thing on this one, you have to be slightly ahead of the conductor and the orchestra, or you will drive everybody crazy in the pit. They will be chasing you like crazy and you're gonna get confused. So which means your intake breath, all of the onsets, the vocal prep, the phonation, everything has to be slightly earlier than you think. And when you're in a big theater, it's even way earlier than in a small theater. So let's try just the beginning of the aria.
Brava, beautiful.
Much better already, because now it's also giving you your voice time to speak, and you're not so worried about what the exact length of your offbeats are. You're just singing the text, which means you're now singing into the body. You're singing into your breath. You're singing into your resonance. It's a very personal thing for every singer. And I can do this with, you know, mezzo B and mezzo C. I can put 3 different mezzos in front. I will have to adapt the tempo ever so slightly. Diana Severo taught me this, to listen to it's not the number of vibratos. It's kind of, if we scoped your voice on the oscilloscope, we'll get the number of this. It's usually an odd number, you know, 5, 7. When you go to the speech therapist, that's what they do. They put the thing up there. And it's usually 5, 7, 9, 11. It's an odd number, like plants in a garden. You never put 2 marigolds together. You put 3, you clump them in odd numbers. It looks better. It just feels more natural. It's the same with the voice. For some reason, it's usually an odd number. It's kind of like, I always joke and say, it's like the sleep number bed. Everybody has their secret number that feels comfortable for them. And as Diana said, it's like because the conductor taught her this, and said, Diana, you're a 9, you're giving me 7. And she's like, what are you talking about? It was during Butterfly. and she realized, oh, he's telling me I'm skimming over the surface of everything. Yeah. I'm not getting into my resonance. And this is why singers know thy own self, know your voice, and a smart opera conductor I listen. And when I can feel your voice open up on stage, this is another thing why the Sitzprobe is important. I'm also listening how you are sounding with the orchestra. And when I feel the voice start to do this, and I feel the column, I feel the support, then I know, okay, now we're in the groove. This is the tempo that works for soprano A or mezzo B. But if I feel your sound start to get cramped or tight, then I have to think first, okay, I'm doing something wrong. I'm slightly too fast or I'm slightly too slow. Yeah. And so I have to meet you and find you. So, and that's the thing with the larger voice, you have to figure out when does my resonance kick in, and that's my tempo. So I encourage you on this piece and every other piece you're going to do to always experiment, always take it 1 notch slower, 1 notch faster, and just play with it and it might change from day to day too.
Brava.
Really,
Thank you
really
so
gorgeous
much,
voice.
Angélica.
Gorgeous
Oh,
voice.
thank you.
Fantastic. We need
Thank
to
you,
move on to
Maestro.
our next singer, but bravissima, Angélica. Thank you for sharing your
Thank you,
beautiful voice.
Jennifer. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you. Okay, Miss Nini,
Thank you,
are
Ryan.
you there, honey? Nini.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can hear you. Please introduce yourself and your piece, and we can get started.
Hello everyone, my name is Nini Marchese, and I will be singing Quel guardo il cavaliere, so anch'io la virtù magica, from Don Pasquale. Guardo il cavaliere in mezzo al contrapese, piego al ginocchio e disse: son vostro cavalier. Son che io la virtù magica d'un guardo e tempo e loco, son che io che si bruciano i cuori all'infuoco, d'un breve sorrisetto conosco anche alle feto, immenso nella lacrima un solito languor, conosco i mille modi dell'amorosi frodi, i veti e l'arti facili per adescare un cor. D'un breve sorrisetto conosco anch'io l'effetto, conosco d'un subito languor, son che io la virtù magica per ispirare amor, conosco l'effetto, sì. Ma il mio riso lo sdegno fa presto a cangiar. Oh, testa bizzarra, ma cuore eccellente, ma cuore eccellente. Son che io che mi si bruciano i cuori all'infuoco, d'un breve sorrisetto conosco anch'io l'effetto di menzognere lacrima d'un solito languor, conosco i mille modi dell'amorosi frodi, i vezzi e l'arti facili per radicare un cor. D'un breve sorrisetto conosco anch'io l'effetto, conosco un subito languor, son che io la virtù magica per ispirare amor,
Wow. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous voice. I love your coloratura. You're super rich and beautiful. And thank you for that fabulous ornament with the high E flat. Go girl, fabulous. Dean, I'm gonna throw it right over to you so we can talk about some bel canto. Yeah, I throw it right over to you.
Great, good. Thank you for doing the E flat. I like that.
I like it too. It's fabulous.
Yeah. You did a really great job considering, you know, with the recorded track, because the idea of bel canto is that we have this push and pull and this flexibility that you can play with the conductor. So bravo to that. That said, I'm going to give you some overview of things that I felt just from listening to that. The first cavatina section, the beginning, I feel for your voice especially can move a lot more. It can be much faster. Quel guardo instead of quel guardo. It is conducted in 6, but I think you have to, again, listening to your voice and listening to where it wants to settle in, then I would find a tempo that would allow me to get the stresses in the Italian. When that Italian feels natural, that is the tempo for you for that. For all bel canto that way. So you have to be careful not to listen to too many recordings and set somebody else's tempo in your ear. There's a tradition with this piece over the last, I would say, 15 years of getting a little bit slower with the whole opera and more careful. I would say there's a fabulous recording with Mario Rossi conducting in 1949, I believe it was. Alda Noni, you do not listen to her. She's at the end of her career and it's a little like Minnie Mouse. But Bruscantini has all, and I mean, the cast is incredible. But they sing it with such spirit, and the tempi are buoyant. And remember that this whole piece was an homage to Rossini. So it was written, it was the second to the last opera that he did, and it was by 1840 written in a style already 20 years out of fashion, that nobody really did these bubbly comedies anymore with these fast pattern numbers. So, but it was his homage to Rossini. And so it comes from that germ, that idea, that style. And there's a speed, a lightness, a brilliance, a virtuosity that can be through all of this. So for you, just letting that beginning, what happens on Quel guardo il cavaliere, that's where when you have time to stretch into that will be your beat there, your tempo. Be careful on the depending on your conductor, on the you can take a little bit of time. I always like to stretch that a little bit. If the conductor lets you stretch it, then you can get up to the G, but then squiggle yourself down. Just get down right away and kind of meet him at the end. That'll be another thing dealing with conductors in bel canto, knowing where you can stretch and take your time, and then knowing when you have to just book it. I've got to meet the conductor at the end of the beat. And one thing you can do, there's where, you know, what we talked about earlier, keeping the conductor in the corner of your eye, that, okay, all I have to do is, and I know, I see the arm coming down, I'm just going to time my scale down so I land with him in the orchestra, because I'm not going to hear the orchestra there. On the beginning of the Son più la virtù magica, on conosco, again, be careful, the word is conosco, not conosco, so the call can't be too short, it can't be too long. Conosco is where you want to stretch and sit. That will help determine the amount of rubato you take there. And the two of them should not be the same. They should be, the two conoscos, it should be slightly different in tempo through that as well. The beginning, the middle section, o testa bizzarra, son pronta vivace, o testa bizzarra, son pronta. It's like taking the verb, it's not o testa bizzarra, son pronta vivace, it's written that way, but it should be more playful. It all comes from the Italian again. So it's almost like you're taking o testa pizzata, son pronta vivace. Take the rubber band, you're stretching it like a bow and arrow, and then you let it go. And that comes again from the text. The conductor can easily catch you through all of that. I'm just having o testa pizzata, son pronta vivace, Iva, se monto in furore di rado sto a segno. Same thing there. You have to like know where the verb is, where you're going to switch it, rubber band, and then you let it go. What will normally happen on the trill, and very nice trill, I wait, I've done this piece so many times, I wait until I hear the trill in full velocity, and I don't mind if you do a slow wind up. Once you're there and you're going like this, then I count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you bring the orchestra in. So know that that trill is going to have to go for a long time, so you're going to want to take a nice breath before that, so you can actually get that going in there. Sorry guys, this one I had to get on my phone, the score. So when I look down, I'm just checking the score. And then there are times when you can take a little more. Once the then take a nice big breath, because you've done that long trill. You deserve a break. You deserve what I call a little pit stop breath. Give yourself the time. So anch'io come si bruciano il cuore lento. If you want to ornament a little bit there, you can do a little do something there, because that comes out of that same tradition, and it was kind of expected. Again, taste level is very important. I wouldn't go, all beboppy on it and go crazy, too crazy. But you can do some really beautiful show-offy, fun incidents, little ornaments there. Just like you did, bum, 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 ba, da, 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 which is really fantastic there. Let's see, I think, be very careful on the scales. When you do this with orchestra, it's not in the piano part. Right there, that scale, that scale there, you are doubled by the entire violin section. And it's the hardest spot. There is a tradition also where they just cut it, tacit. They just tell the violins don't play and let her do it by herself. Know that if your conductor is very text and wants to be very Donizetti, he wrote it, I have to play it. You're going to have to help the violins a lot. So it's the same in caro nome. You take that little breath, and you're doubled by the string. So you have to be very clear. You have to. It's another spot. Keep the conductor in the corner of your eye, and if you can see the strings, you should be able to see the concert master, because he or she's out in the open a little bit in the pit. Watch all of that. Watch the violins, watch the conductor, and be very clear about that scale, because everybody's going to have to come up with you on that. And then take a little more down, bum, bum, and then you can take a little lift there, and then bum, bum. Once you start that pickup, it's a new tempo. And in good Rossini style, the wind up, what we call the stretti, the stretto at the very end, it's not written, but it's done in a much faster tempo. It's just the style. And so these are the things when you do Rossini, when you do Donizetti in this style, Elixir's full of them. All these tempo changes that are not written, that as a singer, you can help your conductor by being very distinct and know what's the speed of the moving sidewalk that I have to step on. So that step, again, that pickup note is going to help the orchestra know what tempo to take. And so I have to be very clear and very distinct. Bum, 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 bum. And if you move that whole ending and just almost feel like it's in a slow one rather than bum, it would be so much easier, because you'll be riding it like you're like a surfer. You're riding the wave. You let the music do the work for you. You're not beating out the beats, which then starts to get a little. It's already bum, ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. It's already in there. It's written in the music, so you can be much more. Think the bigger phrase, the bigger pulse. That's another trick to get around a conductor who may not be giving you a tempo that you like. Or may not be catching you, or just maybe a little sluggish and heavy. In your brain, then retranslate that. So if you're in 2/4 and he's beating 2, this is why, for example, for me, I have long arms. I have to be very careful in those kind of things, because it can get kind of sluggish if I'm not careful. So I will give a gesture that's a little bit more, almost like 1 to a bar. if the conductor is giving you bum ba bum ba bum ba bum like that, and you see the arm going on 1 2 1 2, the orchestra will start to get a little heavy. So in your brain, just translate it to, oh, I'm only seeing him downbeats. I see his downbeats, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to ride da 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 da, and it lifts the breath, it lifts the voice, it gives you that buoyancy that will help you get through this, so that the final high note is a piece of cake. So
Nini,
sorry to speed through it like that,
no,
but this
that's
is a very tricky piece.
fine. Nini, do you have accompanist over there where you could start at the beginning and speed it up just a little bit so that we can take at least one of Dean's points here and try to move that beginning a little bit more?
Yeah, I can switch over to accompanist, but
yeah, that would be great. Let's do that. Switch over to accompanist and just take it. Dean, how much faster do you think for her? Because she can adjust the tempo on her.
About like this.
that was too fast.
A little fast.
Sorry, trying to like match the clap.
A little faster than that, I think.
Little faster, little faster. That's closer, that's closer.
Yeah, let's try from there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And just keep it moving so that it can really, I mean, you know, she's so sweet, she's so cute, she's telling this story, she's reading her Cosmo or her book or whatever it is, and you know, she's fun, she's flirty, and so we definitely don't want, I mean, he's got it marked andante here in the score, so we definitely don't want it dragging in any way, right? So like Dean says, and this is so true, you definitely do want to stay in front of the conductor's beat. You want to make sure that you're above it, and you're meeting in bel canto at the end of the bars and on the downbeats. So try in Dean's suggestion a little bit faster, and let's see what we get at the beginning.
Much better already. It's really hard with the accompanist here, because, for example, the son vostro, it's a much better thing. I want you to put this image in your head that you're sitting at the beach reading Tristan, and you're just making fun of it, and you're like, oh my God, it's a beach read. It's a summer novel, and you're making fun of it. The thing is, you don't get too serious and too weighted down dramatically with it. She really, remember that she's a divorced woman of what, 22 to 25 already, you know, at that time. And so oh, sorry, my internet connection's unstable. Here it is, okay. So she's feeling, okay, great. So she is making fun of this whole thing. And so you have to take yourself to, the first time you're going to take a bit of time is on D semicolon, son vostro cavalier, son vostro, and then find the time there. So you're picking, and then it's back into tempo. That was much better. It was slightly too fast and then slightly too slow. And that's the problem with these accompaniment things. I also want you to think about, just put a thought in your head. Yes.
I can start from here. Don't put the app on. We can just go from here.
Good, great. Good, much better already, yeah. Much better already. And I want you to think that the son is not, don't try to plant yourself on the verb so much. It's son vostro, not son vostro. Son vostro, cavaliere. Again, the possessive is more important in Italian. And I also want you to just, I'm going to plant an idea in your head just to think about. Don't overdo this. Be careful that your closed E's in Italian are not too over the border into Germany.
Mm-hmm.
For Italian, we want, for singing purposes, we want just a little bit more roundness. So a closed Italian E is never quite as closed as the German and French. It still has a little bit of roundness to it. Your voice functions well on closed vowels.
Nini, think about a little French Y. A little that way you get oo space and E resonance. And you'll get that resonance in the vowel that Dean wants you to have. You want to try son vostro again?
Son vostro.
E?
Even the cavaliere. Once you get to cavaliere, let it move.
Oh, okay.
When you get to cavaliere, let it move. Yes, son vostro cava. It's an ornament. It's a. She's making fun.
Okay.
Son vostro again?
Yeah. Son vostro cavaliere.
Get yourself to the end of it. And then you take your time. Get yourself further in instead of then, or again, you've taken the rubber band, you've stretched it, the bow and arrow, and you let it go, and the orchestra will do the laugh for you.
Yeah.
Then you're now playing and you're giving that signal back and forth. If you slow down, this is another case where sometimes the orchestra gets confused because you send a mixed signal and you wonder, oh, why is it so slow, maestro? Because if you do son vostro cavaliere, bum, 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 because now the winds are going to hear that slow thing. They don't understand, oh, I have to go.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the Italian style is that we will have tempo changes. Every bar is a different tempo. Nothing is steady in this bel canto music and in Puccini. There's literally a different tempo almost every bar. It's organic, it's chamber music, it's jazz. And it's less, I'm going to hold a steady tempo. And so it depends so much on you now taking that tennis ball and throwing it back to the pit. And they're gonna throw it back to you. Or the beach ball, you know, have fun with it that way. And again, see how it comes from the text? It's gestural and text driven.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo, you want to try one more time?
Indirect. Okay. Son vostro cavaliere.
E?
E tanto vero in quel guardo saporti paradiso che il cavaliere Riccardo
definitely that Dean mentioned before, where you can take a little more time on that G. Tutto d'amor conquiso, and then you move. So the shape just changes a little bit more. In bel canto, no 16th note, no 32nd note is created equal, right? So even when we've got a bunch of eighth notes lined up in a row, that's not really what he means. And so here you've got a bunch of 32nds lined up in a row. Not really what he wants. He really wants and then we move from there. So it's just a little different shape that he wants. Tutto. rallentando on that measure. Do you have that, Dean? Where we do the non volgeria. All those things, they want that. Yes. You can play with those.
Yeah.
So
If you do the first part in tempo.
Yeah. Play with that there a little bit. Mai. Brava. And then the orchestra can accentuate ba-bum, ba-bum from what you've given them.
Good.
Yeah? Yeah, bravo. Go ahead, Dean. Sorry. I feel like we have an internet lag.
Sorry, I think my connection's starting to. Yeah, this. One thing that will help. Get yourself. You have to go down to the D, and so you tend to slow down because you're trying to phonate and make sound down there. If you can find it should be like a roller coaster doing that. And then you give me the top of the roller coaster, and then you come back down. And that also, again, sets up the orchestra for the ba-dum, ba-dum, exactly. Because, and just so you know, in the style, those chords are done on the beat. Ba-dum, it's not ba-bum, it's ba-dum, ba-dum. They're short and fast, and the 16th is just literally on the beat, crunched. So again, see how it's gestural, and how this is how you can throw the phrase back and forth with the orchestra through all of that.
Totally. It's all about that kind of give and take in bel canto. Bravissima, Nini. We have to move on to our next singer, but thank you so much for sharing your beautiful instrument with us. The high notes are spectacular. Just have a little more fun in bel canto. It's really one of those styles where you really can play with the rhythms. And again, no 8th note, no 16th note, no 32nd note is created equal. So have a little fun with the shapes, especially, and then it'll make it a little more clear for the conductor on the other side for you. Brava, Nini. Bravissima.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Kevin. Kevin, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Hi, honey. Thanks for joining us. Please introduce yourself and your piece, and we will get started.
Thank you for having me. My name is Kevin Douglas Jasaitis, and today I will be performing J'ai perdu ta photo from Silent Nights by Kevin Putz. Blessé, Gravel, Pierre, 26 ans, La Rochelle, Fauchon, André, 20 ans, Saint-Brieuc. Madeleine, j'ai perdu ta photo, seule près de Lilas. Boisvel, Charles, 30 ans, Concal, je l'ai bien embrassé plus de 100 fois par jour. Mar, Vernis, Honribol, 30 ans, Amiens, mes poches. Pas besoin d'une photo pour te voir. Je ferme les yeux et tu es là, près du feu, et notre jeune enfant est tout contre toi. Il se met à pleurer, tu lui souris et tu lui chantes une J'en ai tellement besoin. Dormir, dormir. Disparu, Clément Paul. Je finirai demain.
Wow. Bravo. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing. Fantastic. I can't believe you're only 22 years old. It's just, you're so talented. I really am. Bravissimo. Fantastic. Fantastic. There is one technical thing I want to give you that I think you will be happy in your life if you have. But I'm going to let Dean go first to talk musically. And then I just want to talk about one technical thing. But really, what a voice. And what a presentation. Thank you for that, really. Dean, over to you, honey.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. And I have to, as a conductor who's done a ton of contemporary music and new operas, I have to give you props for doing this without somebody in front of you doing that, you know, just on the recording. Because in these repetitive minimalist style pieces, it's very easy to get lost. And this is again where your conductor can be your best friend and the relationship with the conductor. And I think when you're doing a contemporary piece, I know I always appreciate it when the singer says to me at some point in staging, Maestro, I need help. I need a cue there, you know, or I always want to come in early. Can you just give me the palm or do something? So to all of you singers, I'd say don't hesitate to try to have that relationship with the conductor and to say what you need in the musical preparation of the piece to get that out. With a my big thing is, I think with somebody to at least give you the big beats that you can bounce off of. For me, I think the French and the conversational flow of it would be even more organic and more natural. I still felt it was a little bit like I have to get off certain beats and bounce off, rather than the orchestra has this bomb, 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 this repetitive figure, and you're just riding on the top. And it magically lines up. That's what we would want to get in the end, rather than, you know, I'm following the score here and I'm like, oh, good, okay, oh, there, he got it. And it should just feel like it's just floating on top of all of that. In general, in the French, sorry to be so picky about this, be careful with your A nasal, the A and the EN nasal. Sometimes from my ear and my taste, for singing purposes, it's a little too closed.
Okay.
So we really hear the difference between those two. Like instead of André, it'll give you more, it's a rounder place to sing. And I remember Nico Castell telling me years ago in New York in a coaching once, Dean, don't tell singers this, but when we teach them lyric French diction, we're teaching them French with an Italian accent.
For sure. For sure.
So you can actually sing a round vowel. So it's not in that small, tight, forward place, you know? So I would experiment. If you listen to the great French singers, they almost give you an idea of a little bit more space. Nathalie Dessay was a master of that because she spoke so many languages beautifully and understood the difference of where to put the sung French from the spoken French.
Right.
You have a gorgeous voice. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Can you believe he's 22?
For your age, it's beautiful.
I can't.
Yeah.
Sweet, thank you.
Absolutely. And
Really,
Kevin,
really beautiful.
I want to ask you, are you studying with a baritone or are you studying with a female?
No, my current voice teacher is Bonnie Hamilton. She is a soprano.
Oh, Bonnie. Okay. All right. So we need to learn the turn. And that is hard for a woman to teach. So go see Jack for 20 minutes and have Jack teach you the turn. I'm going to show you just because my husband used to study with Jack at Persia, and I now know the turn from him. For you guys and for the health of your voice, because you are very young. When you're at that E flat, the D sharp here, we need to turn it. It's too open, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm but and right now you're 22, so you have young, wonderful, malleable vocal folds, right? But when you get a little older, if you don't start turning those notes, I mean, especially the D, the D sharp, and the E, you're going to start to experience some laryngeal tension, maybe some MTD and things like that. So listen, all the turn is a tilt and a lowering of the larynx. You can feel it in the notch in the front. So if you find your Adam's apple, it sits pretty neutral. When you inhale, you lower the larynx. We inhale, and the notch goes down. The turn is just a retilt. All right? Let me get my little larynx over here. So the turn is just a lower retilt. That's all it is. And basically, in order to do that for yourself, you can round the vowel. You can think of that little tilt, and you could round the vowel a little bit more towards the German OE, or okay? So when you go up, amia, me penche, instead of me penchal and going full open, try a little me penche in the turn. So retilt that larynx a little bit. You'll feel it. You can keep your finger here on the notch of your Adam's apple, and you'll feel when you go you'll feel it go down, and that's your turn. Basically, what the turn does, honey, is re-elongate your vocal folds so that we can actually make those higher pitches. And we need to make sure we close the back. And if we sing it full open, and with women, we sing it full open. So it's not a surprise that, you're not using it yet. But with men, they understand it so much better because they have to do it all the time. But try the phrase for me. Henri Paul, and you don't have to use your accompaniment, just the notes. But I really want you to feel that. To get that turn to happen for you, the sound will be happier, and you'll be happier in your life, I promise you. Henri Paul, Henri Paul.
Henri Paul, Toronto, Amiens,
That's it. That's all it is. But we need you to do that instead of go up wide, because then you can use that open space to go up even higher. If you've got the larynx a little too high and you're trying to come up from underneath, the folds actually can't elongate to make those pitches, and we start the fabulous cracking, which nobody wants to do, right? Can you try the E for me? Because we need to also do it for the E. C'est tout et tout. So, près de feu est notre jeune enfant. And you'll want instead of a two, you'll want a two with some space underneath it. Près du feu, près du feu.
Près du feu, notre jeune enfant, et tout contre toi.
And then you have more control over it too. Yeah? Right. Does that make sense? Can you try one more time? Et tout, and just a slight lower turn, a little more in the back around that two. Yeah, I know it's a two, but a two. You can have the space and also the oo in the front. Près du feu.
Près du feu, notre jeune et tu contre toi.
Bravo. And you're going to be so much happier if you add that into all of your repertoire. It's just, you're going to feel so much better and you'll never get tired. You'll never get tired because the larynx will just be released. Do a madala for me because you have to take the octave turn. So if you do a madala, and take that turn, that little in the octave jump. Yeah,
Madeleine, Madeleine.
Bravo. Yeah? For the rest of your life, at E flat, you must turn. Because then those higher notes, the F, the F sharp, the G, the A flat, then those things come in for you and they're much easier to make happen and you will feel more secure. You will feel more secure if that larynx is anchored and we have the full tilt happening and you can just go up and resonate and have the happy open place. Yeah? Bravo, fantastic. Dean, anything else? Do you want him to go back any of these French vowels or anything in here that you'd like to hear again?
Let's do the fauchant. Fauchant, Andre, right at the beginning.
At the beginning, okay. Wait.
Because there you have a case of the ON nasal into an AN nasal.
Fauchant entre. Okay, so we have Fauchant.
Fauchant, André, va-t'en, Saint-Brieuc.
Okay, the Madeleine.
Madeleine, j'ai perdu ta photo, c'est près de Lila.
Yeah, good. Bois vert.
Châle, Toronto, Cancale. Je l'ai bien embrassé plus de 100 fois par jour.
Good.
Good, turn. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Good.
Dean.
There's another little trick the French do that if you can find a way to put it in the singing voice, it'll make you sound, it's a little finesse, it'll make you sound very authentic. Just remember that any vowel before that gular, the r, is going to be hyper open.
Right.
Char, instead of char, char, ha, ha. If you think more of the space, now you do whatever you need to do singing wise with that vowel. But if you can think a slightly more open position for the a color before that R, even though you now bring the R back and you flip it in the front, if you still color that R, had you done the R in the back of the throat, it's a little secret trick a lot of French singers do, especially the great old ones. And you swear they just did a R in the back and they didn't. They did it in the front because that vowel is shaped. Another little trick, we don't do doubles in French, but any vowel before like a double is very open too, like belle. Instead of belle, 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 belle. Or E circumflex, very open as well. So there are these patterns that you can find that how the vowel is affected by the consonants around it in a very subtle way in French. And that gives you this beautiful coloration of the vowel that is very authentic, and your French friends will really appreciate it. And it also allows, again, it frees up the voice. It allows the voice to kind of just find that resonance, and you're not like, I'm going to get everything just right like my French diction teacher said, but I'm now finding the flow in it. It helps you to turn it musically too. You'll slide from one vowel syllable to the next, and it becomes a very vowel-based language, which it is, and the consonants don't get in the way. I find French the easiest to sing in.
Kevin, do you want to start at the beginning with your accompaniment over there? Just so you can kind of get that feeling of what Dean is talking about with, even though we have this bum, dum, dum, dum accompaniment, that you can really just like ride over the top of that and not even think about that with like ooey gooey fabulous legato line. You want to try that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Blessé Gravel Pierre, Vincissant La Rochelle, Fauchon André, 20 ans, Saint-Brieuc. Madeleine, j'ai perdu ta photo, seule près de l'Ina. Moiselle, Charles, 30 ans, Concal. Je l'ai bien embrassé plus de 100 fois par jour. Vernis, on Ripoll, printemps, Amiens, me prochain.
Bravo, bravo. Thank you. Fabulous.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, get that turn working. That's stunning because then you can really just play with those fabulous dynamics and that beautiful vibrato that comes out. Wow. Stunning. Stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Kevin. Really
Thank you
amazing
both,
to
really.
hear you. Bravo, bravo.
Wonderful.
We're going to move on to Lwazi, but Kevin, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. That was
Thank you.
truly beautiful. Thank you. Lwazi, are you there?
Hello, my name
Is
is
he?
Lwazi.
I hear him. Are you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah, my name is Lwazi, and today I'm gonna sing Recondita Armonia from Tosca by Puccini.
Fabulous. Bravo. Bravo, Lwazi. Gorgeous. Wow. What incredible improvement you have made. I'm so proud of you. Ah! Bravo, honey. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Dean, I'm going to throw it over to you immediately. Fantastic work, Lwazi. Really, bravo, bravo.
Beautiful voice. Just beautiful, beautiful voice. With you, I'm going to suggest the opposite than from the Norina. If you could slow everything down. Because also this is conducted in 6 rather than in a big 2. There's not enough control for the orchestra. And also the voice wants more room to soar and to bloom. Even on the re, con, there has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You want to spin that instead of conditar, recondit. And what I'm doing as a conductor, 1, 2, I even sit and wait until I feel your voice open and then I can catch you. And you'll also tell your conductor the tempo you need in that first downbeat, recondita. I think I'm freezing up again, sorry.
No, it's okay. We've got you. We've got you. Maybe we have a lag, but we've got you.
So is there a way
Lwazi,
we could try that slower?
Yeah, we can. I'll give him here. Let me get my score on the piano here. Okay. Okay. Oh, F natural. Lwazi, a little slower. Bravo. Bravo.
Okay. Much better. Now it's slightly on the back side of the beat, so you can split the difference a little bit. But I think if you practice it more slowly and take your time to build into the voice, build into the phrase, this feeling of the stretch and the bloom, it will help you a lot. And then you can always then speed it up a little bit. You can push it forward to get the tempo.
Yeah, I agree, Lwazi. You can definitely bloom more in these beautiful. It's so calm now and so settled, and the vibrato is so beautiful. Now you can really stretch into it. Try it. It's really gorgeous. Bruna. Santi. Attack. Jasaitis, L'arte. One second, Lwazi. 1 second. Dean? Go ahead, Dean.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm liking what I'm hearing in the sound now. And as a conductor, I can get the orchestra and the harp and everybody around you, and it will sound, it feels like it's flying, it's floating now. reset the tempo on all of those. There has to be a stretch. You're kind of going in full blast and then trying to do the portamento up. Give yourself a little wiggle room. So don't come into the portamento full blast. And then we set the tempo. Then I can catch you there too. That's another place to meet the conductor halfway.
Great idea. Let's try that. So le diverse bellezze insieme confonde, Lwazi? Le diverse bellezze insieme. Bravo. Now real stretch this. Bravo. Lwazi, make sure when you do that stretch, you re-anchor that larynx down. So we don't stretch up that way, we stretch down that way. So exactly, so that we don't get anything going sharp. So when you do to, re-anchor that larynx and go down into the body to make that stretch happen. Don't go to, I reach for you. Don't do that, reach for her that way. Yeah? Try one more time, that's beautiful. Can you do mio sol pensier sei tu, mio sol pensier sei tu, one more time. Big stretch. Mio sol. Mio sol pensier sei tu. Amazing! Amazing! So good! So good! Yeah, Lwazi, don't get too, I know, you're probably nervous or whatever. Don't reach for it that way. Always go down. You have that larynx. Lwazi was one of our young artists at Fort Worth this past season. And when did we see each other? In February, before all the craziness happened. And we had a session that was so great, and he got that larynx down, and everything was awesome. And I was like, Lwazi, no more high larynx anymore, ever again. And you did it! I'm so proud of you. I just, oh my God, I'm just beaming with pride. You have done so great. But now when you go up into that beautiful high register, down. Because if you reach up, then we go a little bit sharp. It squeezes, and we go a little sharp, yeah? But wow. So good.
Another thing that will help, take a fraction of a second more time before you say the tho. Da, 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 da. Set yourself. You're doing to, you're trying to get in on the tempo. Give yourself just a little bit more of a stretch. It's an easy weight for the orchestra, and it feels more natural. And remember, too, that the note after the high note in Puccini is more important.
Yeah.
So you have to bring it around the corner. Instead of but the energy and the line. You can hold the B flat as long as you want, but you still have to, take the plane around the corner and land it on the other side of the bar line there. So it's a matter of just judging how much breath, where the larynx is, how you're feeling. This is a tempo that will work for you in a bigger theater, a bigger space.
Yeah.
Because it allows your voice to fill the space.
I agree with you, Dean. I think this slower tempo is much better. Lwazi, do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree.
And it has to feel good for you. Do you want to do the B flat one more time and then come down for the ska? Breathe. Say to. Very Devo of you, okay? Do mio sol. One more time. Larynx down. Go down. I mean, amazing, amazing. My mind is blown. The work you have done since February, my mind is actually blown. Wow, honey, wow, wow. Incredible work. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm so proud. I'm such a proud mama over here right now. Bravo. Okay, let's move on to Alex. Are you there, Alexandra?
Hello, hello.
Hi. Tell us your name and your piece, and then we can get started.
My name is Alex Razskazoff, and I will sing Come in quest'ora bruna from Simon Boccanegra by Verdi.
ciglio e le piante
gorgeous. Bravissima. I love your jumper too. So cool. I love it. Brava. Absolutely stunning voice. Beautiful high notes. Nice and round and rich. And I love it. Gooey. I love it. Fabulous. Dean, I'm going to throw it right over to you. And we'll talk musically.
That was really, 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 really gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous voice. And well suited for the aria and for the role. You have that kind of ample, beautiful Verdi voice that we like, that still has the spin and the cut on the front. So you can do the messa di voce and that stuff, but at the same time you have this warmth and this beautiful richness in the sound. So that's kind of the prevailing color nowadays for these, what I call the middle to the heavyweight Verdi ladies that people are going to look for. And brava for trying to do the messa di voce and the effects and the bel canto effects. That's really, really great. In terms of tempo, it was interesting. I thought the first section was too fast by a notch or two, because, and I felt, and this is the problem with the accompanist thing, is that, you know, it's hard to set it. So ironically, when it came back, it seemed to settle like by a notch or two. And that was closer to where your voice wants to go. And again, I hear that by listening to how many oscillations you're able to get on per syllable. And to me, that's hearing the voice bloom. And I just felt like, you know, you had the finger in your back just pushing you a little bit too much in the first one. So if you can play with that, just taking a little bit of the edge off of that, that would be wonderful. Bravo for figuring out all of how you want to resyllabify all of those tricky moments. And everybody does them slightly differently. And I love what you did. It worked well for your voice. And just know that Verdi was hearing singers redo that kind of stuff before he died, and he approved. So he wasn't so urtext like, you have to do what I wrote. He understood the voice, and he understood that some singers would be able to figure out a way to do those phrases in one breath. You hear some recordings with the microphone right here where they do that. You will rarely hear it live in a theater without the soprano rechanging the word order and taking a breath between the approaches to the top. And it's just practical. And I think as the theaters and orchestras got bigger, more of those kinds of, towards the late 19th century, more of those kinds of choices were made by your predecessors. And it's okay. So, and you did them very musically. So that was good. I think that's the important thing with that. Yeah, the middle section, Magliastri, the recording was way too fast. Yes, it should be the same. It should be the same tempo, and it should have kind of a slight it's a little bit nervous making, but not frantic. It's just a little undertone of angst, you know, ansiosa, but not this kind of panic. And if it goes that fast, and again, it's only 1 or 2 or 3 notches. And this is the kind of thing we conductors geek out on. We feel these slight differences in tempo. And so sometimes if you know, to get back to this conductor relationship, if you feel your conductor is giving you a wrong tempo in rehearsal, try living with it for a day or two and see. Maybe that's their way of telling you something. They're hearing something in the voice. You can always go back. If the conductor feels that you've tried it, and then you go back a day later and say, you know what, I'm going to, instead of saying, no, I have to do this faster, Maestro, you need to be with me, just say, you know what, Maestro, I'm going to try something different today. Let me see what you think. That way, nobody loses face, you know, and you also do it privately. You don't do it in front of everybody in the full rehearsal. And that way it becomes a discussion. And then the conductor will hear what you're doing, and then you prove that you sound better when you do it the way you think you need to do it. So those, you know, that again, it's a way to talk to your conductor. Oh, one little thing. And again, I like to give credit where credit's due. So this is a tradition that goes back to Giulini, who taught it to Florence Quivar, who taught it to me. In going back to Tullio Serafin, whenever you see the staccato in Verdi, so for quando la pia, or especially a staccato slur, it doesn't mean so much staccato or space. what Giulini said, oh, give the diction just a little more, pronounce the Italian a little bit more.
Okay.
That's what Verdi meant by that. He didn't mean, quando, quando. It's an intent. It's kind of like a hatchet staccato in Mozart or Beethoven. It's an emotional staccato. It's a diction thing rather than being short. So even if it comes out legato, that's okay, but it'll color how you speak the text and the words. And that's why he starts it on that low E, on the low F there, near that lower passaggio, again, because it's a sensitive part of the voice, and so it's going to color a certain way. Verdi builds it in there. And then I would be careful on the cel. Ti guardi il ciel. You have a big orchestra umphi. You have a big, like, sit down on the sofa chord there. So you need to figure out how you're going to, on a low F, not get covered by the orchestra. There's a trick. You can either bring it in slightly early. Most conductors are okay with that. You can maybe give a little more ch, do a raddoppiamento simpatico on the ch, double the ch, just explode it a little bit. And then hopefully your conductor will do the accent and diminuendo pull away right away, so we don't cover you. But really, really beautiful. And I love how your voice wants to soar in this. When you start getting up around the E flats, you know, the octave above middle C, it just starts to, you can feel the height. And this is where I can see this is really perfect for your voice, because I get this, the column and the spin at the same time in the sound. It doesn't start to get like this, like on a shelf, but and you can live up there. You're not getting tired up there, which is fantastic, fantastic.
Really beautiful. Alexandra, do you want to go to the Maliastri section and just try that a touch faster? Either you could try to speed up your, I'm sorry, a touch slower. Either you can try to slow down your accompaniment, or I can help you here on my piano, and you can try it without the accompanist. Either way.
Right, yeah. Jennifer, let's go with your accompaniment.
Okay, I'm not as good as accompanist, I have to say. So we get the chum 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 Maria.
Strina marina che vivo nella mente dell'anima meschina. La notte apra chiude
Sorry. Where the heck what key did we go to? There we go. Quando la pia morente.
Quando la pia morente sclavo mi guardi il cielo.
Brava, yeah, and you do have a big orchestra on that cel. Think about adding like 30% chest. Think about a more open vowel and just mix a little ti guardi il cielo. Just like 30% in there. Leave the throat open, everything, no Ethel Merman, none of that. But leave the throat open and think about like 30% of chest coming in. Ti guardi,
ti guardi il cielo.
Then that's gonna ride over that big orchestra, because it's a big chord, and you've got a lot of brass and stuff under there, and so just a touch of chest. You don't need a lot. And you can do it in a healthy way while keeping the larynx nice and low. The other thing that you can do for these little quando la via, you know, when you do coloratura and you bounce the diaphragm a little bit, you can add a little quando la via morente sclavo, just a little in the body. It's going to connect you down into the deep core by the pelvic floor. That's the place. Try it there and see if a little bit of that gives you a little of that kind of, like Dean said, I think of them like those little triangles over the notes in Mozart, where they have just a little extra stuff in them. Yeah. So try using that a little diaphragmatic pulse to really kind of connect down there. Quando?
Quando la
It's not, yeah, I'm trying not to think of it now. Also, like Dean said, like staccati.
No, it's not staccati. It's just what you would do if you were doing like Violetta and some of the staccati. It's just that extra little diaphragmatic connection right underneath the rib cage. Out. Quando la yeah, and then you have the body connected underneath them, so then you don't have to chop up the legato line to make it happen with the quando la pia blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Try to keep that legato under. Yeah, right there, right underneath the bottom rib. Quando.
Quando la
There it is.
Ti guardi il cielo.
And then you can just ti guardi, thinking head, ti guardi, and use the di to kind of transition into 30% chest and then open from there. So the Verdi writes these chest things that it's so freaking brilliant. He disguises the shift to the chest all the time. And he does it with like a closed vowel or a double consonant or something like that where he literally gives you a gift and says, don't worry that that's a register change. You can hide it. So if you think ti guardi in head, ti guardi, and then these leading to chest, and then open underneath that kind of brighter vowel. Yeah. Okay. Try it. And you can play with it. You have such beautiful vocal technique. You can play with the shape of the throat there to add that 30% chest in without pushing at it. Yeah? Because you don't need to. Ti guardi.
Ti guardi
Yeah, see what I mean? You use the T, it disguises the shift into the chest, and then you open from there. He does it all the time. In Trovatore, he does it amazingly. When we do in the end where she's like, ma brai, ma fredda, he goes, ma brai, and the ma is shorter. So you get a little prep note. Ma brai, ma fredda, di me spoglia. He gives you like a prep to open into the chest. It's unbelievable. He does it everywhere. In Aida, when you come down in Patria Mia, pace forse, he gives you a F. Pace forse, oblio. It's unbelievable. They're everywhere, and they help you sort of get into the chest while disguising that we're adding some. Yeah. There's a fabulous, if you've never seen it, there's a fabulous YouTube video with Leila Genscher, who is one of my I die for her. But she's talking about the use of voce di petto in Verdi and Puccini and all these things. And they're also interviewing, I want to say, Tibaldi and De Los Angeles in the same YouTube video. And the two other ladies are saying, oh no, mai uso voce di petto. I never use it, right? And Leila Genscher's like, perhaps my colleagues have forgotten what they used to do. It's the most amazing thing. But she talks about this in Verdi, about how there are these disguises, there are these double consonants or smaller vowel or something like that disguises the shift for us, larger voice sopranos, into that chest voice. And so you have to kind of take those cues to sort of allow him to lead you, because he really does. When you get into like Vespri Siciliani too, he does it all the time. He changes the vowel to E to lead you down to an open A on the low A, which is just like, thank you, Verdi. But yeah, you can add all of that long-winded explanation is to say you can add it there because he's disguised that little entryway into it for you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Really beautiful. I only want to just give you one more possibility for your ending here. Amor sorridi a me. Just for the La rugiada di fior. And doing the whole thing all the way down. Then do your del ciglio on the bottom. Del ciglio take your fior all the way down and then do del ciglio on the bottom note, because the E vowel, del ciglio, disguises that lower passaggio, that primo passaggio for us. And a closed vowel, a closed E vowel, will close the back of the folds, where a pianto will open the back of the folds in the primo passaggio. It's just the way the larynx is tilted. So if you try la rugiada di fior, del ciglio il pianto, and move your words to there, you might find it easier to hold that long note at the end, because the back of the folds won't be open and air won't be escaping. The back of the folds will be zipped closed because you have a closed E vowel in the primo passaggio. Just a little fabulous little tidbit of knowledge for you about that, because it's hard, this little il pianto at the end of the aria. It's hard. And then they want you to keep floating that il pianto, blum, blim, blum, 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 all the way to the end, right? So in order to have the air to do that, we can't have any escape at the beginning.
Yeah.
So a closed vowel will do that for you. Do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, so then repeat del ciglio il pianto. Yeah. Then you just get del ciglio, and then you're just in that little E happy place until you have to open it. Yeah? Try. Sorry, I didn't warm up today, and my chords are like La rugiada di fior.
La rugiada di fior. Del ciglio il pianto.
I lose breath there. Yeah.
It's the pia. So keep it closed. Keep it covered up. Del ciglio il pianto. And just keep it in a very small space. Don't open it too far, because the folds at the back will start to open a little bit because the larynx isn't tilted enough down there. Yeah. So del ci. Del ci. Pull through.
Del ciglio il pianto.
And that's it. You'll get it. Just sing to with it more towards u. Del ciglio il pianto. You won't lose air. Yeah? Try one more time. Del ci.
Del ciglio il pianto.
Spin. Yes, and then you've got it. Yeah, you understand?
Yeah.
So if you carry that all the way down through, then you can start del ciglio on the bottom, and then we get a little tricky and keep the folds closed. Yeah?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Play with it. See what you think, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, in one, out the other. Thanks so much, Jen. Bravissima. Thank you so much, Alex. That was stunningly beautiful. Guys, thank you so much. Dean, wow, what a class today. Oh my God, so much information. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dean. Everyone, please. So great. So much amazing information. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from Italy, where it is now your bedtime. It's so late there. I'm sorry.
No, I'm still jet lagged.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You are awesome. So thank you. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. As always, I will tell you what's coming up next week. Next week is acting week. All week, acting week, and we have got an extra class for you next week. So we'll be having 2 master classes, one on Thursday evening at 7 p.m. with Dean's colleague from Nashville Opera, John Hooms, stage director. He directs all over the country and runs Nashville Opera, so we are thrilled to have him. And then on Saturday at 2 p.m., we will have Lauren Meeker, who is an amazing stage director and the artistic director at San Antonio Opera. And both of those classes will be on acting for opera. We will be talking about moving and singing at the same time. We will be talking about acting technique. We will be talking about building your characters, all of those things. So really, please join us for Acting Week. It's going to be great. I'm doing my best to get you a midweek chat on acting and talk about some different acting styles. So look out on social media for that. But as always, you guys get first dibs on the spots. So send your email to masterclass@fwopera.org. You can request to audit both of them. You can request to audit one. We don't care. We just want to see you. So Thursday will be John Hooms, and Saturday will be Eloren Meeker, and I promise you both of them are going to be incredible. Also, we are very, very sad, but for the moment, next week will be our last week for right now. We may bring it back, but next week will be the last week. So we're ending with a bang with Acting Week. As always, we do not ask for you to pay for these classes, and we are very happy to bring you this wonderful content during quarantine. But if you can, Fort Worth Opera would very much appreciate a donation, and there are many singers on the chat today that have donated, and we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you. I got a message from a singer who said she did a little concert and she sent us a donation from her concert earnings, which I thought was just so touching. So thank you for that. So we appreciate you. If you've got a couple extra dollars and you want to donate it, we're super happy to have you all here. But like I always say, if you cannot, please do not worry about it. We are not asking you to pay for the classes. So we're so happy to have you all. Thank you, Dean, so much. My iPad's on 1%, so I'm gonna go so it doesn't die on you. Thank you for an amazing class. Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Dean, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be with us. It was so wonderful to meet you. Thank you, thank you.
Great pleasure, really great pleasure, thank you.
Really. I hope to meet you in person one of these days. Eventually that will all happen. Jennifer, I love you. I love you. Thank you for making all of this possible. And a gorgeous job, Angélica, Nini, Kevin, Lwazi, Alexandra, really, oh my God. And everybody out there watching today, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. We will see you next week. All right. Bye, everybody.